In this guide, we'll go over all of the actions the Pugilist and Monk learns from level 1 to 50 in order. We will go over how each action is meant to be used and, when applicable, the recommended way to use it. Please refer to the video in the top right corner for explanations of role actions specifically. Bootshine is your starting action and weapon skill. This functions as your combo starter and additionally has an extra effect when you use it after finishing a combo, but we will get into that a bit later. At this point, you simply use this action repeatedly. Additionally, you start with a trait known as Greased Lightning. This trait reduces your global recast timer, or global cooldown as it is more commonly known, or GCD for short. It reduces it by 5%, reducing your GCD from 2.5 to 2.375 by default. The GCD affects all weapon skills, and so they are typically referred to as GCDs. If you want to learn more about GCDs, OGCDs and weaving, please see the video in the top right corner. At level 4, you learn the weapon skill True Strike. Whenever you use Bootshine, you will enter Raptor form, which is required to be able to use True Strike. Using True Strike changes you to Coil form, which becomes relevant later. This attack does slightly more damage when you use it from behind the target. Unless an enemy is designed to automatically always count your positional as correct, it will have part of its targeting reticle missing. This entire area is the rear of the enemy. Try your best to land True Strike behind your target when possible, but don't worry about it when you're fighting an enemy on your own, as they will always turn to face you again. Don't delay True Strike for the sake of using it at the right position. It is much more important you use your GCD immediately when it becomes available, than whether you use the GCD at the right position. At this point, the rotation consists of alternating between Bootshine and True Strike. At level 6, you learn the weapon skill Snap Punch. Snap Punch is only available when in Quirl form. Using Snap Punch changes you to Oppo form. Snap Punch does slightly more damage when you use it from the flank of an enemy. The 90-degree angles on both sides of an enemy counts as the flank. However, that also means you can alternate between the flank and the rear by simply hanging out right where the reticle line disappears, and just taking single steps to either side depending on what positional you require. Oppo form makes your combo starters like Bootshine have an additional effect. In this case, Bootshine will always deal a critical hit, by default 40% more damage, if you use it from behind the target. Now, the rotation consists of cycling through Bootshine, True Strike and then Snap Punch repeatedly. In a fight with multiple players, where you can make use of positionals, be aware that True Strike and Bootshine do more damage from behind the target, while Snap Punch does more from the side of the target. At level 15, you learn the ability Fists of Earth. Using this action reduces all damage you take by 10% until you either cancel it or override it with a different Fists of buff. At this level, you want to keep this buff up at all times. When you later gain access to other options, you might want to use Fists of Earth if you are taking a lot of damage, for instance if you are being targeted by enemies. At level 18, you learn the weapon skill Twin Snakes. This action is an alternative to True Strike that also increases all the damage you do for 15 seconds. Every second cycle through your 1-2-3 combo, you want to use Twin Snakes to make sure the buff is always active. Additionally, like Snap Punch, Twin Snakes does more damage from the flank of the target. This changes your rotation to cycle through 2 sequences back and forth. At level 20, your trait Greased Lightning upgrades to reduce your GCD by 10%, reducing it to 2.25 by default. The main takeaway is that it means your rotation moves along slightly faster. At level 26, you learn the weapon skill Arm of the Destroyer. This action is an area of effect, or AoE for short, alternative to Bootshine. At this level, if there are 2 targets, Arm of the Destroyer is better than Bootshine. In fact, at 4 or more targets, it is better to just repeatedly use Arm of the Destroyer, only occasionally using Twin Snakes, not bothering to finish the combo at all. At level 30, you learn the weapon skill Demolish. This action is an alternative to Snap Punch that applies a damage over time effect, or DOT for short, to the target. Dots do damage every 3 seconds, so if your target will live at least 9 seconds, Demolish is better than Snap Punch. Due to the duration of Demolish, combined with your fast GCD, it is better to only use Demolish every 3rd cycle. Additionally, Demolish does slightly more damage if you use it from the rear of your target. This does change your rotation to start being slightly complicated, where every 2 cycles you use Twin Snakes, but every 3 cycles you use Demolish on single target. Also at level 30, doing your class questline will eventually lead you to the Monk quest, which is available once you complete the main scenario quest, Self-Management. Once you unlock the Monk, remember to equip your Soul Crystal to change into the Monk job. The starting action of the Monk is Rock Breaker. Rock Breaker is a frontal cone AoE alternative to Snap Punch and Demolish. If there are 3 targets, then Rock Breaker beats Snap Punch, and if there are 4 targets, it beats Demolish. This does mean that on 2 or 3 targets, you will be using Demolish primarily as your finisher, spreading it among as many targets as you can, but on 4 targets, you just use Rock Breaker as your finisher. At level 34, you learn the ability Fists of Wind. Fists of Wind overrides Fists of Earth and will instead increase your movement speed by 10%. This effect does not stack with any other movement speed increasing effects, so Sprint will still only increase your speed by 30% alone. Unless you are taking significant amounts of damage, Fists of Wind is a better option to keep active at these levels. At level 35, you learn the ability Shoulder Tackle. This ability is a so-called gap closer that moves you to your target immediately. It also does some damage. Unless you are using it to move you to your target, because Shoulder Tackle is an ability and so is unaffected by the global cooldown, you should use it between 2 weapon skills to optimize your action usage for damage. If you know for certain that you will need Shoulder Tackle for movement in a few seconds, then you should save it. In any other scenario, you should use Shoulder Tackle on cooldown for its damage. At level 40, you learn the ability Fists of Fire. Fists of Fire increases all damage you do, and overrides Fists of Earth and Fists of Wind. Unless you absolutely need the damage reduction of Fists of Earth, or the movement of Fists of Wind, you should always be using Fists of Fire, due to the damage increase. Also at level 40, your trait Greased Lightning upgrades to 15%, further reducing your GCD down to 2.125. At level 42, you learn the ability Mantra. This action makes you and all your allies near you receive more healing from healing actions. This means this action is almost useless when playing alone, but can be useful in a group setting to help your healer recover from large amounts of damage. At level 45, you learn the weapon skill 4-Point Fury. This action is an AoE alternative to True Strike and to Twin Snakes, and additionally, if the buff of Twin Snakes is already active, it extends it by 10 seconds. On 4 or more targets, this makes your rotation revolve only around using the AoE weapon skills, with the exception of the first cycle, where you use Twin Snakes to apply the buff. For 3 targets, you use Demolish instead of Rock Breaker. For 2 targets, using Twin Snakes and True Strike is equivalent to spamming 4-Point Fury. At level 50, you learn the ability Perfect Balance. This action makes you count as if you are in all the forms at the same time for the next 6 weapon skills, making you able to repeatedly use the same weapon skill back to optimize for damage. Keep in mind that when Perfect Balance ends, you reset to no form at all. You also learn the weapon skill Dragon Kick. Dragon Kick is an alternative to Bootshine and Arm of the Destroyer. Due to it being slightly better without its Oppo form bonuses than Bootshine, you want to use this action when starting from no form. When you use Dragon Kick while in Oppo form, it makes your next Bootshine do much more damage. Additionally, Dragon Kick does slightly more damage from the flank. The optimal way to use Perfect Balance for damage on single target is to alternate between Dragon Kick and Bootshine. Keep in mind one is best from the flank, the other is best from the rear. Make sure to start with Dragon Kick to reboot your rotation once your Perfect Balance ends. On AoE, Perfect Balance is best used on repeatedly using Rock Breaker, although you may want to use 4-Point Fury at least once in the time to make sure Twin Snakes does not end. To round off, let's cover single target and AoE rotations at level 50. For single target, your opener is as follows: Dragon Kick, Twin Snakes Shoulder Tackle, Demolish, Dragon Kick Perfect Balance, Bootshine, Dragon Kick, Bootshine, Dragon Kick, Bootshine, Dragon Kick, Dragon Kick. After this, your rotation properly begins. Shoulder Tackle should be used on cooldown, making sure to place it between 2 GZDs. When Perfect Balance becomes available, refer to the previously mentioned opener as to how you can manage it. Make sure to use Perfect Balance between 2 GZDs. Your rotation consists of 3 pairs of actions. If Dragon Kick's buff is up, you use Boot Shine when in Opo form. In all other cases, you use Dragon Kick. For Raptor form, if Twin Snake's buff is up and will stay up for at least 6 more seconds, use True Strike. Otherwise, use Twin Snakes. For Quirl form, if Demolish will last plenty of time yet, use Snap Punch. Otherwise, use Demolish. This simplifies to the following. Alternate between Dragon Kick and Boot Shine. Alternate between Twin Snakes and True Strike. Use Demolish on every 3rd cycle and Snap Punch on the other 2 cycles. For 2 targets, your only change is that Demolish should be active on both targets, so you instead only use Snap Punch on every 3rd cycle. 4-point Fury can also be used if you prefer. For 3 targets, you only need to use Twin Snakes on the 1st cycle, and then you use 4-point Fury on all the other cycles. You also use Armor the Destroyer instead of both Dragon Kick and Boot Shine. You apply Demolish to all 3 targets. For 4 or more targets, you replace Demolish by Rock Breaker. The use of Perfect Balance for multi-targets is as follows. For 2 targets, use Dragon Kick and Boot Shine. For 3 targets, use Demolish on each target once and then use Rock Breaker for the rest. For 4 or more targets, use Rock Breaker. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or anything to add, please leave a comment down below. Fun fact, before Shadowbringers, Dragon Kick instead made enemies vulnerable to blunt damage, which made the monk do more damage. While a completely pointless detail, it also boosted the physical damage of black and white mages as well as scholars and summoners.